somebody with, a more creative background might actually put some context around that. Like, why is it being created and what usages do you see for it?
This is just now expanding the door and letting more and more people access and develop software.
For stars specifically, what might they include that would help you prioritize their application as they're applying for a role?
AI is just at the start of what it can do for us.
Hello and welcome to Paperless Pathways, a podcast for stars by stars. I'm your host, LaShana Lewis, chair of the Stars Advisory Council and Opportunity at Work. This season, we're exploring how artificial intelligence is reshaping opportunities for stars. In a time of rapid change, stars are redefining AI for access, inclusion, and equity, using it as a co-pilot to enhance skills, learn faster, and adapt to new pathways in the future of work. Our goal? To put stars at the center of the national conversation, not as bystanders, but amongst the many innovators shaping what comes next. To kick things off, we're starting with episode 1, New Jobs, New Rules, How AI is Rewriting Career Paths. Joining me are Alicia Ogilvie, Senior Director of Product AI at Opportunity at Work, and Fazri Zubair, co-founder and CTO of PlayCubed Inc. Together, we'll take a forward-looking, practical, and empowering look at how AI is creating and reshaping jobs and what stars can do about it. Let's get into it. Alicia, Fahz, please introduce yourself. Tell us about where you're based and give us a quick snapshot of your career journey so far.
Hello. Thanks so much, LaShana. I'm Alicia Ogilvie here. I'm the Senior Director of AI Enablement and Product here at Opportunity at Work. I've been with the organization for about 4.5 years at this point, and joined as the Director of Product. So we started with a marketplace for stars, talent developers, and employers. We advanced our strategy to think about our stars mobility data model and other data and insights that we'd like to provide to our partners. And recently, as of earlier this year, I took on AI enablement for the organization. So that means 2 things. Internally, how are we leveraging it as a team to do more of the amazing work for stars? And then externally, how might we influence what people are doing with AI? So working with frontier models to think of creative partnerships, working with our platform partners to think about how their applicant tracking systems or human capital management systems are leveraging AI and how we're either creating or cementing some of the opportunities away from stars. So I'm really excited for this conversation. Over to you, Fahz.
Hi, I'm Fazri Zubair. I'm the CTO and co-founder of PlayCubed Inc. and Unbolt AI. I am a software engineer by trade, been in the industry for 15 years, primarily in the entertainment space, focused on games and apps. And I'm here today to talk about my career journey, how I've developed into the role I'm at today, and how AI has really been revolutionary for both my new company and I think software engineering as a whole, creating a lot more opportunity for individuals. So thank you so much for having me.
All right, Toss, thank you. If I'm going to shoot some questions your way. First off, I want to know, you've had this front seat row to the AI adoption revolution and evolution. From your perspective, where do you see this wave of AI adoption starting, and where do you think it's going?
Yeah, I think absolutely the AI adoption started with the prevalence and the popularity of ChatGPT. AI has always existed for my entire career, and we've used AI in different ways. But what ChatGPT and the modern transformers and LLMs have done is it gave a whole new range of use cases. And I know for me and my team, it's really 10x what we're able to do. We could have a much smaller team that's more efficient at getting product done. And really, it's opened a lot of opportunities, especially for people that might not come from a particular discipline in software engineering. One of my best engineers right now for our AI startup, he came from the game space, where I spent a lot of my career. And he doesn't necessarily know anything about backend deployments, how to scale a Kubernetes cluster. These were just things we didn't do when we were building Unity and real programs. But with AI, he has a new tool that really helps him learn and understand and grow and be an effective developer. And I think that's really what AI is doing. This is no different than back in the day when there was assembly and punch cards for programming. Then the IDE was invented, and all of a sudden people were able to do more things. And then modern programming languages went from computer speak to more plain language, and more developers were able to enter the fray. This is just now expanding the door and letting more and more people access and develop software. And AI is just at the start of what it can do for us.
Awesome. I have a quick follow-up question, if that's okay. With getting into AI, I know for myself, I've been playing around. I've been doing some data annotation and data analysis work when it comes to AI. And it seems like for me, because I have some sort of computing background and because I know how to program, falling into it became a lot easier for me. Do you think for people who maybe have a programming background or maybe people who are just like habitually early adopters, do you think those are the folks that tend to find a smoother transition with AI, or is there like another kind of alignment that you see?
Yeah, absolutely. Having that technical background, the programming background helps a lot. Mainly, when you ask AI to make a Twitter club for you, it's going to start spitting out a lot of different components and structuring it. And if you don't have a software engineering background, or if you don't understand programming, you might be confused or not understand how to leverage that. I think that's where AI might get better in the future as models get bigger and more complex. It might be able to do more things without you understanding how it does it. Big example I like to give is with video games. We all play Call of Duty. We all play these games, and developers today that work and generate it, they'll create the 3D models, they'll animate it through the scenes, but very few of them understand how that information is translated through a video card and how that's made into graphics on the screen. We don't need to understand that part anymore. That's now done by the NVIDIAs, the drivers. Microsoft. It's done at a very high level. I think that's how AI is going to enter this fray. It's going to start taking over a lot of the things that we used to be. Every engineer had to be technically proficient, like setting up an API with proper security. That's something you need to know how to do. This is something AI will take over and then let us focus more on the look and the feel of the application, the utility, the functionality.
Looking to grow, level up, or make your next career move? Check out the STARS Resource Library, created to help stars like you thrive. Start with your star. And that's something to celebrate. Your personal guide to thriving, building confidence, and owning your story. Then, dive into the STARS Job Search Toolkit, packed with practical tips to help you find the right role, show your skills, and land the job you deserve. And that's just the beginning. There are many more resources designed to help you take the next step in your journey. So, use the tools. Learn more about STARS. Share your story. And together, let's tear the paper ceiling for good. Visit tearthepaperceiling.org/stars to get started.
I think it's a nice transition to some of the questions we have around hiring. So you've hired tons of folks. Your hiring likely is adapting now, including you've also hired stars as well. So how has AI changed the way you think about hiring today?
Well, I always had an interesting approach to hiring. I was never a fan of the programming test and leak code, mainly because I felt like people could study to that. And really, I always felt that people could learn, understand, and adapt to whatever the environment we're in, be it video games, backend servers, AI technology. I was always looking for critical thinking. And I think what AI allows us to do is you could find someone that's really good critical thinker and problem solver, but maybe doesn't understand Node.js or doesn't understand Python all that well, but really knows Swift for iOS. Well, now that no longer concerns me as an employer. I'm like, okay, well, you understand a single programming language. That's great. You also know how to leverage AI, ChatGPT, and Claude to ask the right questions to understand other languages. Awesome. How well can you solve this problem? So I tend to present problems to my applicants in video interviews or in person. And I want to see how they come across, like organizing the solution, not necessarily getting the right answer. And it's okay if they're like, well, I'll use AI to look up, like, how would I do this type of algorithm in JavaScript to be the most efficient? That's what I'm expecting to hear and I'm looking for. And that's like the utilization of the tool is there. Now we have the other side of it where I've seen some applicants actually basically just read ChatGPT responses in a live interview. I'll ask them a question, and it's very obvious that you're just waiting for the AI to generate the response and read back. That's probably what I'm not looking for. I don't need anyone to impress me with their knowledge and have verbose responses. What I need to know is, like, if you're given a scenario, can you start thinking about the solution, break it into smaller parts, and then leverage all the tools available, which could be AI, to solve it.
That's excellent. I think one of the questions that lingered for me was just, what's happening in the interview. But I'd like to take a step back to the application process. And I've been getting a lot of feedback, a lot of inbound, because of course, AI is in my title. So folks are really grasping for people to connect with in community and understand how they can help with their application standing out. So I'm curious, as a hiring manager, for stars specifically, what might they include that would help you prioritize their application as they're applying for a role?
Yeah, we're in an interesting world today. I have a lot of friends that are, in the software industry, and they're migrating jobs. What they're seeing is you use AI to make a great resume, and the recruiter's using AI to read the resume. It's like how you push yourself above the fray. But I think there's a humanism we just got to bring back to it. I think going back to standards, when we put up a job posting today, we get hundreds of applications. And what's really interesting about it is, like, most of those aren't people really applying. They're using some AI tool to auto apply. So what ends up standing out to me is kind of what we used to have to do a few years ago or a decade ago now, is send the cover letter, contact the hiring manager in LinkedIn. Just be like, hey, I dropped an application, just want to introduce myself. This is what I'm doing. This is whatever the job description is. Kind of speak to your strengths there, but kind of bring the human back into the fray. If you just hit apply on Indeed or apply on LinkedIn, it's a roll of the dice whether your resume is going to come up to the top. But these hiring managers are inundated with all these applications. You got to find a way to differentiate and bring yourself above the fray. What I would include in that, especially in today's market, is that you know how to use all the different AI tools. Like, you're proficient with Claude, proficient with ChatGPT. I would elaborate a little bit on how you would use it. So if you're an accountant, what do you do with ChatGPT that makes your job a little bit more efficient? If you're a software engineer, talk about a project that you recently launched that maybe was a skill outside your comfort zone, but with ChatGPT or Claude, you were able to actually develop and deploy it. And for software engineering in particular, the thing that always stands out to me when I hire is examples. Like, hey, I threw up this app. Anyone could throw up an app on the App Store or Google Play. No excuse. If you're really looking to break into the industry or you're trying to get yourself noticed, create an app, create a utility. We all have problems in our life that you could probably solve with a little bit of programming. Utilize what's out there and make something. That always is like, oh, wow, they have an app. Let me check that out, over just a resume and a generic cover letter.
That's huge. So I just want to reiterate that we should be demonstrating how we're making connection to ChatGPT and the other frontier models, and that might help us all stand out in the fray. So that's fantastic. Over to you, LaShana.
Yeah, and Faz, you talk a little bit more so about flexibility, and I was wondering, like, to capitalize on that human side, when AI can automate so many things, what is something that you feel like is additionally valuable that Star in particular can bring to the table?
Well, for software engineering in particular, I've seen this happen dozens of times now, where a task might be brought to an individual, and that individual will throw it into ChatGPT, let's say, design this type of system. And you could tell that these systems tend to be extremely overcomplicated. This recently happened with the engineer I'm working with on our app, on both one. They had to do something very simple. They had to send a notification to a user, and they're utilizing the AI tools to kind of help them out. And it came up with a very complicated way of getting that done. And then he just took a second. He stepped back. It's like, hey, I was going to commit this change. But then I realized if you're just trying to notify the user that a new report's ready, we could just toggle the flag that says a new report's ready that we use everywhere else in the application, and then they'll automatically send it to them. Like no code changes, just a little quick change here. But AI initially gave them a very verbose, very complicated working solution, but would have added a lot of technical debt to our project. So that was something that impressed me and stood out. It's like, okay, that's what I need to look for when I make a hire. That's when I'm looking for an employer, I'm looking for something that's not just going to take the answer AI gives, but takes a step back, looks at the problem as a whole, and is there a better solution? Sometimes AIs just don't capture or grasp that. They have a token limit. They have a limit of how much information they can process at once, and they don't always look and see these like opportunistic solutions.
No, I love that you bring that up. I like to call them soft touches. There are certain soft touches that seem to be missing whenever you automate something, extraneously. It could be the way something is even interpreted, and colloquialisms are a big thing. Not everybody says things the same way, and not everybody views things exactly the same way. So it's like you can kind of tell that, somebody used some sort of standardized process as opposed to being able to use something that is more organic and more variated. I'd like to think of it whenever people are doing email responses, and I can tell when someone's using an AI email response versus, trying to train the AI to kind of talk like them. So it's those little things that give you the uncanny valley feeling, as I've heard, when it comes to using and automating and creating programs and creating solutions that I think we need to, as they say in the corporate world, double tap on. I'm trying to get up my buzzwords for corporate America.
Oh,
but Alicia, a lot of synergy. We're going to circle back. And I actually, you answered a couple of follow-up questions that I had already. So Alicia, we'll throw it your way.
Awesome. So we're going to jump into practical skill building and paid practice. And Faz, you were alluding to understanding the complexity and the nuance of what ChatGPT is returning. And it likely you need to have a bit of experience to really understand that actually this might be a notification thing. We may not need to create new code to solve for a particular problem. But because a lot of stars are finding their first AI-related gigs on micro task platforms like Fiverr, where they're doing data annotation, like LaShana mentioned, data labeling, moderation, and training AI systems, what do you think about these as career builders to get started?
I think they're good, like stepping stones. I mean, I don't think there's a lot you're going to learn from data annotation work that would like really help you accelerate your career. This is basically data entry work. You're helping train AI models. What I would look from opportunities like that is, one, you're making that extra cash. Awesome. Two is like you're seeing what they're trying to train the AI on. If a company's sending you a lot of annotation work on, let's say, job interview history. So it's having you review a resume that came in. Here's AI responses. Was this good? Was this not? You now have a little bit of more insight what that company's actually going to do. And if you're looking to do an AI forward job with this company, that's the information you could use. Maybe look at their LinkedIn posts, look at their company website. Is there a position there other than data annotation? Really, when you're looking to break into a new industry today, like I came from a finance and banking background before I was a software engineer. And I remember I always loved computers. A little bit of background there. When I was 10, I was making video games on my old x86. And I got through college and I got diverted by some bad professor advice into finance and business. When I realized that was a mistake, I was already 4 years into my career in banking. I wanted to switch back to software engineering. And what I had to do back then was it took me 3 years, self-study, get some books, learn how to make iOS apps, finally got an app in the store, hundreds of interviews to get my first opportunity. I feel like today with AI, that could be compressed quite a bit. A lot of the challenges I had back then was when I thought about, okay, I want to make a game. I didn't know how to make a game or what does a professional game look like. Similar to how some of the engineers I hire now for our AI company maybe don't understand what a back-end API needs to look like. In the past, you'd get experience, you'd get a job, you'd learn from like a senior dev. Now we have a lot of that knowledge available to us through a LLM, like a ChatGPT. You could ask it, like, how do I create a secure API? Why is that secure? And then you could have like your colleagues or your coworkers or your boss like review that and say like, hey, am I on the right track here? Honestly, I probably could have cut that 3 years down into maybe a year or even half a year if I had AI then. And that's the opportunity that I really see right now. AI is at its infancy. There's so much knowledge it provides you. If you're looking to break into a space, if you're looking to accelerate your software engineering career or become a software engineer, start with a ChatGPT, ask it some questions, and then ask follow-up questions. Think of it as a tutor, and it can explain to you why certain things are certain ways. And I think that's a really powerful interest.
Ready to take control of your career? Check out the STARS Coach, powered by Career Village. This AI-powered coach provides structured, research-based career navigation support for STARS, workers skilled through alternative routes. Whether you're exploring a new career path, seeking resume tips, or prepping for an interview, STARS Coach can help address many of the common questions along your career journey. Questions like how to address employment gaps, how to ask for references, or practicing giving and receiving feedback, and even identifying transferable skills. STARS Coach is designed to meet job seekers wherever they may be on their career development journey. Visit tearthepaperceiling.org/stars and take your career to new heights with the STARS Coach.
So you talk about a lot of transferable skills, a lot of things where you started off in one industry and ended up in another, but it's kind of aligned, you know. That's what I kind of say when I was starting to get into the very early phases of, investigating AI myself, because I was a software engineer and a coder, and I worked in fintech. For a Fortune 500 company. So I understood, kind of the basics and the grounding of what was needed in order to kind of investigate and deep dive into whether or not I was creating something that was very useful and streamlined. Are there any industries that people maybe don't think about could possibly be transferable when it comes to getting more and deeper into AI and its evolution as we're seeing it now?
So that's a good question. Actually, one industry that you might not think aligns really closely with AI, but I see there's a lot of these corporates, synergy with it. Writers, creative writers. Prompts are basically how you explain to a computer or how an AI model or try to extract from it. And you could do very simple prompts. You could do very overly verbose prompts. But I've noticed people who have really solid writing skills tend to communicate really well with AI and get a lot more nuance back. Might ask an AI, for example, how do I make an API secure? It's going to give me an answer, but it's also going to guess at my intent and what I want, versus someone that maybe has a little bit more experience writing a report being a little bit more creative with their verbiage. Might be like, how do I create a secure API for my financial app? I'm really looking to make sure that the data stays safe. Those additional words and just spending a little bit more time communicating does improve the response that you get back. So I find people who are already naturally good writers or good communicators tend to have an advantage in this space. It's a lot of utilizing AI models, at least LLMs, is communication.
So people who can like tell AI more context that's a little, more used to being verbose when it comes to asking for particular things. Like instead of saying, I want you to create a grocery list that I can use the next time I go shopping. It might be like, I want you to create a grocery list that will allow me to check off certain things and then maybe suggest other things that might be helpful for me to buy or purchase in conjunction with whatever it is that I'm looking for. And maybe also recommend some recipes. Like that's a whole contextual thing that
Exactly.
it takes a little bit extra thinking as opposed to just straightforward asking for a checklist. And Alicia, welcome back.
Hi, Alicia.
Hello. Can you guys hear me now? Is that better?
Yes.
Amazing. LaShana, what did I miss? Okay, great.
We were just talking about some other transferable skills that people wouldn't normally think about that would be really great within the AI industry. And Fahz brought up this excellent idea of creative writers. My wife is a creative writer, so I completely understand, that sometimes when you're asking for something to be created, sometimes people think very straightforward, like create me a checklist. But somebody with, a more creative background might actually put some context around that. Like, why is it being created and what usages do you see for it and what other possibilities? And to be able to kind of come from that perspective really could help train the AI a lot better when it comes to responding and giving ideas and giving like extra information. Did I do good, Fahz? Feel free to add in extra stuff if I missed anything.
Yeah, I think nail that. Perfect.
That's fantastic. And LaShana, I think that goes to what we've been hearing around context being king. That's the latest thing, right? Like it's usually content with marketing, but for large language models, frontier models, it's all about the contextual nature of what you're asking and the nuance is what's going to drive the better output. So I love hearing that. So I want to pull us away from AI and tech for just a second and pull up to mentors, breaks, and human stories. Fahz, we've talked about the technical side, so I'd like to talk about the human side. Did you have mentors who gave you a break early in your career?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said earlier, when I first decided, like I made a mistake and I wanted to go back to software, it was a 3-year transition from banking into software again. And I interviewed, it's funny because now I look back at it, I interviewed at Scopely when there were 8 people. I interviewed at so many companies here in the LA area that are like huge names now. And I was a less than junior engineer at that point. I'd made an app, didn't understand structure. I'd go through interviews and coding tests. There'd always be a little something off. And the one person that did give me a shot, Philippe Irvin of Collision Studios, Santa Monica-based game studio, interviewed with him. He gave me a shot, brought me in as a junior dem to his company. And within a year, he had promoted me all the way up into studio head. And a few years after that, I decided to spin off and start my own thing with my partners, Randy and Octavio, who have been great mentors and really showing me how to kind of go to that next level, take my technical talent, start some companies, and really develop that out. So I've been really fortunate to come across both these people, all 3 of these people in my career. But that didn't come without like a lot of rejection and a lot of attempts. And there's this phrase that you make your own luck, like putting yourself out there. If I hadn't tried 80 times to get a job in the gaming space or in the software engineering space in particular, I don't think I would ever been lucky enough to come across Philippe, who gave me my first opportunity. And then Randy and Octavio, who I actually met while I was working for Philippe, low paid junior engineer. I was still looking to expand my skills, and I actually was still freelancing and moonlighting applications. And I ended up making an app for his wife's fashion blog. And that's how I got Randy's attention. He liked the app. He liked what it looked like. It was better than some work that he was doing. We grabbed coffee. He heard my background, what I'm doing for Collision, and gave me a great opportunity to come in at that point to a company called Literon Labs as the VP of technology. And from there, worked with them and Brandy Octavio and myself split off and started our first company, Lucid Sight, which did some really pioneering stuff in VR and crypto early on, like 2014 timeframe. So it was an incredible ride. We did so many exciting things, but those are the people I'd say definitely owe to my career path and success to.
That's awesome. And I was saying in a previous segment that, success is a team sport, which is something that I've heard a friend, Minda Hartz, who just released a book about trust in the workplace, really champions a lot. Because, with anything, it's like you need that village of people around you to be able to be the ones that actually kind of expose you to different areas within an industry or within technology that maybe you wouldn't have thought to even explore. So I've had those people in my life. The reason why I'm even in tech in the first place was because a guy from the military saw that I had a proficiency for programming in BASIC when I didn't even really know that I had a proficiency for it. I just saw it and I thought it was pretty straightforward and easy to understand. And I was able to help out other people in the classroom. And he was just like, hey, by the way, did you know that you're good at computer programming? And I was like, what? What are you talking about? I'm just helping people out. So it's those people that need to kind of pull you and say, hey, you're actually really good at this. And this is something that, I'll give you as a challenge. And he did challenge me. And, I ended up falling into tech the way that I feel like so many of us do. So with that, when you're talking about mentorship, I try to give a piece of advice to, I would say, my younger self when I was kind of going out and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I was very insecure. I had the imposter syndrome and everything, trying to figure out, if this was something that I wanted to do. If you were to talk to 15-year-old Fahz, what would you say? Other than stop doing that. But what would you say to 15-year-old Fahz that, would maybe give him a little bit of wind beneath his wings to actually walk that path that you've walked?
Well, 15-year-old Fahz was pretty nerdy, played a lot of D&D, played on his computer all the time. I think he did exactly what he was supposed to do. But I think the person I really need to talk to is 21-year-old Fahz, who listened to this computer science professor at his university tell him all the jobs are going to India and you'll be out of work, and panicked and quickly jumped ship to any other major he could get into because he was worried he wouldn't have a career. It was something I was so passionate about since I was a kid. I love video games. I love programming. It was just something that came natural to me, and I went against the grain because I got advice that scared me from a person that I thought knew what he was saying. And it's interesting because that eventually ended up causing me not to complete my degree and just made things a lot more difficult. I guess 21-year-old Fahz would say, stick it out, you know what you like, and kind of follow your passion. I kind of took the opposite advice a lot of people say. It's like, find something you love to do and make a career out of it. I had something I love to do, and I got scared into not making a career. So kind of be fearless. If that's your passion, pursue it. And then opportunities come around. Like even without a degree, I was able to create this amazing career. And I look back at all the cool things I've done because I chose the software path. I got to speak at the Star Trek convention because I made a Star Trek game. For Major League Baseball, for the Dodgers, we were down on field doing the first digital bobblehead giveaway ever. These are all like these amazing times that came through that one decision I made when I was in finance. Like, no, I want to go back to software. I think that's where I belong. That's what I really cared about. So I guess pursue your passion. If you like something, you'll figure out a way to make money with it, but you got to really enjoy what you do, or else it's a grind.
Awesome. Well, Fahz, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate the time that you've taken to answer some of our questions and inform us a little bit about the journey that you've taken personally, as well as the journey that you're seeing that AI will inevitably take towards the end. So with that, I just wanted to say thank you again, because I know that being able to share little pieces of yourself like that can be vulnerable. But my hope is that, other people who are starting in that journey will find something that they feel that they can attach to and be able to push forward. All right. With that, I'm just going to do my little closing prompt. So this has been a really great conversation. So thank you, Fahz. To recap, AI is rewriting job titles, reshaping what employers look for, and creating brand new opportunities for stars. But mentorship, adaptability, and human skills remain central. Fahz, thank you for joining us. Alicia, thank you for being my DJ, my co-DJ, and asking questions and building ideas. Our listeners can follow us on our normal platforms, but Fahz, where can people find you?
Well, LinkedIn, basically I have a very unique name, Fazri. So Fazri at any platform is me. I was an early adopter to the internet. So if you have any questions, Twitter, Instagram, easy ways to reach me, LinkedIn, share my message. I'm probably the easiest person to find by name. So happy to answer any questions, or if anyone's looking to get into a software engineering career and wants guidance, always available. And thank you guys so much for having me on this podcast. It was amazing to hear about the STAR program and be a part of it.
Thank you for listening to Paperless Pathways. You can find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to the Paperless Pathways newsletter to stay up to date with new episodes and stories from stars around the country. Next time, we'll dive into episode 2, The Human Edge, a conversation about the uniquely human skills AI can't replace: emotional intelligence, resilience, adaptability, and complex problem solving. I'll be joined by Mara Morrison to explore how stars bring these powerful human qualities to the future of work. You won't want to miss it.